Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk to you all and ask a very important question and share a bit about myself. Maybe this question is one that you think about all the time, or maybe it's one that you kind of forgotten about. What I want to ask you is, why do you create art? I've watched a ton of videos from artists discussing AI art and its impact on the art community. It's clear to me that there is fear of AI art replacing artists. Not only that, we've seen it happen. The future of creating digital art feels very unclear. So, if the future is so unclear, then you must ask yourself, why do you create art? I can tell you why I create art, and maybe you might feel something similar, or have an entirely different reason. You see, I've always wanted to be an artist. If you're anything like me, the desire to create art feels like a calling. Back when I was younger and in school, I would always draw all over my notes for class, making up these fantastical battles going all around the border of my paper. You see, I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z and whatever anime I can get my hands on, and I used to always love just drawing all over the paper, putting these key blasts going from one side to the next, huge explosions. Of course, because they were my notes, I didn't write over my notes. I just kind of drew around them. And since they were my notes, I just had to make sure they made sense to me. Now, this was during my high school and middle school days, many years ago. When I was home, of course, I would draw some of my favorite TV shows, just like I see so many artists today making fan art. Back then, the internet was pretty fresh, so most of my fan art came from redrawing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, DVD covers, Pokemon cards, Digimon, video game booklets, and anything I could get my hands on that had my favorite things. Luckily for me, my brother was my art buddy, and we would draw all types of cartoons that we liked. He was my favorite person to draw with, and because we liked the same things, we would challenge each other to see who was better. Of course, this was one way that pushed us to grow as artists. Another influence in my life of art was our mom. She had these drawings that she made of the baby Disney characters, and she had them hung up. Seeing these sparked my interest in drawing because they looked so amazing to me. My life growing up was far from perfect. I grew up in a single-parent household with my brother, and for anyone else who had a single parent or knows someone who has a single parent, it was rough. Now that I'm old enough and have kids of my own, I understand how difficult it was with only one parent with two kids. I respect my mom for doing the best that she could, but I'll admit that some things could have been handled differently. One of the turning points on my art journey was one day that both my brother and I got in trouble. So usually when you get in trouble as a kid, there's some sort of consequence that follows. There's one punishment that I will never forget. One day we came back home from middle school, and after finishing our homework, we played video games and made some art. And we stayed in our room the rest of the day. Well, our mom gets home from work and goes into her room and finds that one of her Jack-in-the-Box collectibles is on the floor and broken in half. We never went into her room and never played with her collectibles because we knew how much they meant to her. But we were accused of playing with her collectibles and breaking it. I don't know why it couldn't have been assumed that it had been knocked off the shelf. In all honesty, if my brother and I had done it, we probably wouldn't have left the evidence just out in the open on the floor. But because it was late, our mom told us she would come up with a proper punishment the next day. So, of course, we're thinking we're just gonna get a pretty bad whooping in the morning. But it was something much worse. The next morning, our mom told us to get all of our drawings. Every single last one. And we used to keep our drawings in this big container just to keep things organized. Then she got some large trash bags and the shredder and told us since we broke something of hers, that she would break something of ours. So we spent hours shredding all of our drawings, all of our memories, the time we spent making the stories, our favorite drawings that we thought were really cool, all the hours spent, and all the milestones we had passed on our art journey. All the drawings that were our favorites, just all gone in a single day. All because of a collectible that I can get today on eBay for $7. After that day, my brother stopped drawing and he lost his motivation. I lost my drawing buddy, my art, and my stories. I was disheartened, but even after losing all of my art, I still couldn't just give it up. I had this yearning to draw, and I had learned so much from tracing and then going freehand and even starting to shade. Even though my art was gone, I still remembered what I had learned. So I continued my art journey alone. It wasn't until high school that I would find artist friends. And also looking back, my grandmother was my biggest supporter. She knew how much I wanted to be an artist, and she would tell me, "Don't let no one tell you to give up on your dream." I made her a drawing of Sylvester the cat, and it was a stuffed animal that Mom had gotten for her, a gift from us all. My grandmother was unfortunately homeless, and we would see her every now and then. As kids, we saw her a bit more, but after we moved, it was harder for our mom to find her, and it would be many years later until we would see her again. It wasn't until I was 20 years old and in the Marines that we would see her again. Unfortunately, it wasn't too long after that she would pass away, and in her wallet, my mom found the drawing I made for her. She never stopped believing in me, and she never stopped supporting me. I wish I had more time to get to know her. I wish I could show her the art I can make now. This picture that I made for her is my oldest surviving drawing, and looking at it lets me see how far I've come. And so I keep growing my art skills and doing as much as I can and learning whatever I can. This was also my reason to not re-enlist in the Marines and to take a leap of faith and pursue my art. After I left, I studied at the Art Institute, and when I felt like giving up, I felt like I was being told not to through fortune cookies. Fortune cookies from Panda Express, of all places. But these fortunes felt too specific to just be something I should throw away. There's 3 fortunes that I kept, and on them they said, "You could prosper in the field of entertainment. You have a deep interest in all that is artistic. And finally, hold tight to your dreams." Now, I didn't eat at Panda Express that often. I ain't that big back. But I took these as a sign. Believe what you will, but I felt that I was on the right path. There were times that I questioned it, because money was really, really tight. and I was already married and at the time with a baby on the way. By the time my baby was born, it was before I graduated, and I also landed my first job in the game industry a week before my graduation. I was really putting in the hours to improve. And I'm thankful for getting those fortunes, and that one of them reminded me of what my grandmother used to say to me. This is the reason why I create art: to leave a lasting impression on my audience. As artists, we have a story to tell, a journey that we went through, and a reason we started creating in the first place. AI artists can't share in that artistic journey, and they can't understand what the journey actually means to us. How many of you started drawing art by tracing, and after a certain point, took off the training wheels to freehand? How many of you remember how it felt to start shading and see that you were able to create form? How about when you started creating your first character and giving them a story? Or how about the feeling you get when someone glances over and compliments your work? A complete stranger, even. Nowadays we have social media, but I think the feeling in person feels better in my opinion. So I shared with you a bit of my art journey, and of course there's more, but these were some of the most impactful moments for me. AI can't take those experiences away from me, and it can't take your experiences away from you. As artists, we're more than just drawing pretty pictures. Heck, I'm a 3D environment artist with an emphasis on 3D because I can't draw backgrounds to save my life. But as you can see on the screen, I'm also getting back into drawing. I also plan on learning more about Live 2D because I think that what it can do is really cool and it's something that interests me. There's many other ways that artists can make a living too. I'm sure there are a lot of you who've had parents that wanted you to pick a more stable career. I've heard the same thing, but I stayed my course because I wanted to be happy. There's lots of career choices, lots of opportunities, like becoming a VFX artist, a lighting artist, an environment artist like myself. There's tech artists, very technical. Those people are they're wizards. Illustrators, concept artists, 3D modeling, and that's all digital, but there's so many more when it comes to physical media. I've seen artists making amazing pictures on wood, wood carving, 3D printing, fan art merch, and the list goes on. There are opportunities out there in different branching paths. AI art can create things quickly, but people want quality. I've seen on Twitter customers get mad when they find out that the art that they purchased was made by AI. One reason I can guess is that they thought they were getting a quality product, but got something they could have just made themselves. How would you feel going to a fancy restaurant only to find out that they were buying TV dinners and cooking it and serving it to you? You wouldn't feel too good, right? Right now, customers are getting scammed by AI artists, and unfortunately, they're just being given more tools. And we've seen these tools coming online, like the tool that allows for AI speed paints. I don't see a need for AI speed paints. It doesn't actually benefit anyone unless you're trying to scam a customer and convince them to believe that AI art that they're selling is legit. Artists can't even learn from AI speed paints because every frame is always changing and is terribly inconsistent. But even though they're getting more tools, we are real artists. We are creative. And while they're limited based on their tools and theft from skilled artists, we will always be creative, and we will always create art in as many ways as possible. We can create art in the sand, art from trash, art from stones, art from sticks, wood, you name it. And the list just goes on and on. With all this being said, this is how I feel about art. We aren't limited to a single medium, so don't limit yourself. So now I want to know from you, why do you create art? Let me know in the comments below. I'm interested in knowing more about the artists that watch my videos. Or if you're someone who appreciates art, how do you feel about what's going on in this current age of AI art? So with that being said, that's it for me, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.